anyways, welcome, Kicking It to KJ. We have a fantastic guest, and as usual, I learned from the last one where I literally introduce the guest, and I go to the guest and say, hey, introduce yourself, which is absolutely stupid, right? And so it is so awesome to have you here. So, KJ.
Dub B. Coach, we're going to go with Coach B? What are we going with?
I think we went
to Coach B. We're going to transfer over from Dub B to Coach B.
Coach B.
Yeah, because of last week's awesome Retirement 101 video.
Yeah. But, yeah, Coach B. So, KJ and Coach B, we have this awesome guest. Love this dude, right? And we were talking earlier about, first impressions. If you want to get into that, you can. Yeah. We have like a script. But please, sir, my brother from Leadership Las Vegas, a fantastic leader in the community, a smile that charms all. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Ace Daniels. I am a born and raised native of Las Vegas.
What?
Yeah.
They have those?
I've been part of the hospitality industry my entire career here, and I've also been a part of the Vegas theater scene here, the local theater scene.
Oh, wow.
And a class member of Leadership Las Vegas Falcon 2020.
So me and Dion, you remember Dion was here, we were like the class of 2020 bleeding into 2021. And yeah, I like that because that's an anomaly. We're unique, right?
Still got 2 session days to go, but we'll make it, and very proud to be a part of the group.
Oh, me too. It is a phenomenal group. So Ace, thank you for joining us, right? I am so honored, right? And, we were talking a little bit about the show about first impressions. So before we dive into this material, right? And if you want to do a first impression about like Barry, like, I just don't like him and I'm not going to talk to him during the show. Barry acknowledged a few shows ago and he was like, I don't like Kevin either unless he's cooking, which is every day.
Or cookies.
Right? And so I've known Barry since I was a young airman in the Air Force. He was my mentor and actually hand me my first stripes, say it's time for you to get promoted.
Oh, wow.
And that's how long this friendship's been. And you'll see that gets promoted. But first impressions
of you?
Go.
Let's see. It was Gateway. First impression, I was like, God, that guy looks intimidating and tough. And first description that came out of my head was probably like a muscle head.
Yeah, asshole, meathead. Meathead. I like it.
You were scary at first. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you were quiet, but and I was like, he's handsome, but he's also like looks tough and mean and
like a ninja.
And Ace said I looked very, very nice. Hot. When Lynn did the transformation.
Yep, I'm pretty sure he said hot.
I went from like fugly to queen.
In a day.
I think so.
Well,
in an hour.
When I saw the transformation begin, I was like, I don't know where this is going. And then by the end of the transformation, I was like, he makes actually a lovely burly chick.
Very burly.
We just got to get together and hit like stonies with Mark and we can start a fight.
Well, what he means is he'll start the fight. He's going to make you finish it because he's too old.
I'm too old. My hip hurts. So let's see. You talked about a lot of things, right? You talked about you have the adoption, you were in hospitality, like what?
Yeah.
Like in the last, with COVID and Leadership Las Vegas and everything you've experienced in life, right? How it's impacted you, how have you refocused your why in you? You have a husband, you have a beautiful son, right? It looks like you've been living good. Yeah. I think I saw you on the beach recently.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
Because we had to finish the other topic about I met you and I gave you my first impression.
He's trying to just kind of gloss. He's trying to get beep,
I was trying to avoid this.
I don't want the audience to think that's what I still think of you.
We want to end that on hot. We want to end that on hot queen.
So
stop there.
I gave you my first impression of you.
Right.
And then once I finally started to get to know you, like when we were talking about this earlier before we started recording, I was like, oh my God, this guy's a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
He is so nice. He is so open-minded. He is so intelligent and so caring.
This is a non-paid guest, folks. Non-paid guest.
A very emotional person. Are you a water sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
I'm a Scorpio too. Okay, now it makes sense. Yeah.
See?
Okay.
High five. Yeah. That's the first official high five that we've done in this show. So all the folks who are very like, COVID.
Well, we do have sanitizer here, so we've been sanitizing.
We're sanitized.
Isn't it supposed to be 77% alcohol though? So these are only 75, so these are not going to do.
No, if you use two of them,
that's 150.
It's 150%. So you get to use it twice.
Both sides, one side.
All right. Let's get back to Ace, man. So going back to, have you refocused your why, employment, a lot of the things you're involved with, right? How's it shifted or changed? If you want to talk about it, your upbringing, because, everybody has a story, and that's what this is about. This is about you.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think Leadership Las Vegas was very, we're still in it, and we'll always continue to be in it as long as we remain engaged as alumni. But it was a life-changing experience for me because it opened up my periphery to so many things. There was so much personal growth that I went through. And where I'm currently sitting at right now, which is as the result of, this break during COVID. I was furloughed a month ago from my 13-year career with Wynn Las Vegas. And also having to take a break in the arts because right now we can't do live performances because of COVID. Leadership Las Vegas made me start to really look inside and really understand and value my potential. And what is next for me in this next chapter of life.
And you don't know yet, or you're still thinking?
You know what? I'm keeping my options open. I'll be very honest. I know that I want to continue to grow. I know that I have a lot more potential. I'm very excited about continuing my pursuit of my artistic dreams. Last year, I made my debut directing Annie up at Super Summer Theater, and it was, for me, a life-changing experience. I've always been a performer leading up to that, but God, I love theater so much, and it made me fall in love with theater all over again, but in a very different way, from just as a collaborator, as a leader in that field, and the whole process of creating live theater. So going forward, I'm very open to what's in store for me. I love the hospitality industry, but we'll see what happens.
Man, so me and Barry in the Air Force came up in the hospitality arena, and we always joke, and he would agree, and he can probably elaborate a little more. It's often a very underappreciated industry. Like, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, there's always going to be the one person or one group that just, it doesn't align with what they want, and they want it that way, and I don't know how that is as far as because hospitality is so broad though.
Yeah.
And you do entertainment.
Well, no, specifically what I do is meeting and events. I do conventions, which is really, really important in this city specifically. And right now we can't hold, what I do for a living is bring large masses of people together for the purposes of conferences, and we can't do that right now. So our Vegas industry is really hurting because the midweek piece of business really relies on conventions and conferences. And we need that for, our industry to have fully recovered. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. No. What are you looking at me like?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No, that's great.
No.
No, so I want to hit on the you said earlier that you have a husband?
I do.
And a little boy?
I do.
And you kind of go into your family
absolutely.
dynamic, especially what's going on with all the climate tension and all the stuff that people kind of perceive as far as perception or actual reality, as far as being a gay man and having,
So my husband's name is Raul Daniels, and we met in 2009. So we've been together. It's going to be 11 years. We're kind of coming up on 11 years. We got married in 2013, and this was before it had passed, before same-sex marriage became legal in Nevada. We knew that we wanted to get married away, so a destination wedding. We chose Laguna Beach. And at the time, we were preparing for what we thought would be a commitment ceremony, but we had already chosen the date. Next thing you know, same-sex marriage had passed in California. So we're like, oh my God, now it's actually going to be legal. That's amazing. And it was very interesting because during our wedding, it was our first experience at a same-sex wedding, as well as all of our guests. It was a very intimate wedding, about 65 people all together. And then we always knew that we wanted to have a family. How do we go about that when, together we can't procreate? We explored all of our options. Originally, my husband wanted to always have his own biological child, and I supported that. I was like, I love you. If that's what you want to do, I stand behind that. But I always knew that I wanted to adopt. Even as like a young gay man, I knew that I wanted to have a family, but I knew that my journey there would be through adoption, because I always felt that there are so many children in this world that deserve a better life, and there are so many couples who, cannot start a family on their own, and why not give that child an opportunity? So my husband ended up watching a documentary that highlighted adoption and the benefits, and it really changed his way of thinking. We did a lot of homework, and we realized that having a surrogate child, which everyone always assumes, oh, did you guys go through the surrogacy route? It's really expensive. And it was just out of our price point. It was out of our means. So we looked at the other ways about, do we foster? Do we go the adoption route? There's pros and cons to everything, and every family needs to make the right decision for them. We didn't feel that fostering was the direction that we wanted to go after really diving into what that was. And we then set our mind on adoption. And we ended up meeting with these acquaintances of ours who had gone through an open adoption journey. At the time, I didn't know it was open adoption, and I'll clarify what open adoption is. But they had signed up with this like national agency called Independent Adoption Center. Don't look them up because they don't exist anymore. So we're like, okay, let's give this agency a shot. We wanted to go through a national pool of birth mothers because we felt it would increase our opportunities of meeting a birth mother. Also, I didn't want the birth mother to live in Las Vegas because I wanted some geographical distance at the time.
Well, to pop in.
So at Independent Adoptions IAC, they had offices in 7 different states, and the closest one to us was LA. So we went to LA for like a 3-day workshop that was required. And the interesting thing was that in that 3 days, might have been 2 days, but it was 3 same-sex couples. And this was the first time that that office had 3 same-sex couples together, and we were all men going through this journey together. And the whole workshop was about learning about what open adoption is. So to clarify what that is, a closed adoption is more a traditional adoption that we know, where you adopt a child, but you never learn who the biological parents are, and vice versa. So this child is going to grow up in a world where they don't really know who they biologically came from until they reach a certain age and
start asking.
Yeah. An open adoption is where you remain in contact with the birth mom, and it's different for every family. You decide organically what that's going to look like, and then you just let relationships evolve organically. So looking at the pros about it, I was like, immediately I was sold on it. I was like, yes, this is what I want for our family, because as the adoptive parents, I want to be able to have a link to the biological mother and father in case something comes up medically, and I need some answers. For our son, I want him to know where he came from biologically from birth, so that it's not a question later on, and it's just something that has always been natural, And we have this beautiful relationship with Robin. That's Alex's birth mom.
Okay.
We don't have any contact with the biological dad or father. We call him
the donor.
Robin chooses to call him sperm donor. I mean, he's already got 2 dads. How many more dads does he need? But so we went through that workshop, and then we went through the process of just waiting. They say there's a lot of waiting anxiety. They coached me on that, and I definitely went through my waiting anxiety because I had baby fever. But I decided to just throw myself into the arts more and get myself distracted, and then she found us through the agency, and we were matched, and we were able to go through the pregnancy with her, which was amazing. And then Alec was born in 2016, and he's 4 years old now. He's a beautiful, healthy baby boy. He is our special unicorn.
I love it. So, between me and Barry, you probably got just short of 50 years of serving our country, right? And we fight for things. One of the things that I always thought that I think was amazing, and we don't hear enough of the positive stuff, is how our country's evolved, and the fact that you can be you. You shouldn't have to hide, your love, and to be a parent. And I think that's inspirational. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't. I know me, and I talk a lot of shit, right? I don't think I'd have the courage to, like something that you're just trashed for, like you love who you love, and that's a leadership story in itself right there. Yeah. That we don't talk about enough. You know what I mean? Like we don't focus on love. You know, we don't focus on unity enough. I mean, like I was just telling Barry, someone that I like hold in very high regard, got in some kind of debate on Facebook with a friend of mine. You know what I mean? Had nothing to do with me. And then I got unfriended.
Oh, wow.
You know, I'm like, what's that crap about? Yeah. But whatever, you know. But I think your story is inspirational.
Thank you.
Just because it's a significant contribution to how our country evolved to stop all this bashing and hating and how dare you. I mean, who gives a shit? You know, you love who you love. You're a good man. Your husband's a good man.
Thank you.
You have a beautiful son, and you raise a family, and that's the stuff that we need to focus on. Yeah. Is that just because that don't align with how you were raised doesn't necessarily make it wrong.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now that that's not the way I look at it, you know?
Right.
You love who you want to love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to put how I feel in front of your feelings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We need love. That's what we need.
Right.
If it's love between male, female, male, female, whatever, man, just love each other.
Yeah.
You know, who cares? Who cares about the dynamic, as long as that dynamic is positive, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
when I share my adoption story and, you know, just share the story about my family, I always say, love is what makes a family. Love is what makes a family. And, you know, going into this process, I was like, how lucky is he to be loved wholeheartedly by 3 individuals plus more when you add on the grandparents and the relatives and the friends. But, you know, love is love. It's the same thing regardless of what it looks like. And my son doesn't feel any shortage of love.
Nope.
You know, he's got 2 dads and he's very proud of it. I'll show you a really quick story about when we started this Zoom schooling, once everything shut down, we were watching him. Now imagine watching preschoolers like do a Zoom class for an hour. It's kind of torturous, but it was one of those story time days where you're just sharing a story or whatnot. Oh, so he decided to share a story about going to the dentist. And one of his classmates, who's actually a good friend of his, said, did your mom or did your grandma take you to the dentist? And Raul and I are in the kitchen just observing what's happening. And I happen to have my iPad, so I'm also watching the class. And without even hesitating or being prompted, he says, I don't have a mom, I have 2 dads, and I'm very happy. And in that moment, our hearts just melted.
Is that one of those where the eyes get a little watery? And it's man.
So when we ask him, we're like, Alec, do you have a mom? He's like, no, I've got 2 dads, and I'm very happy. And when we ask him, where do you come from? Roro's tummy.
Well, that's funny because you know, on the notes, you know, we let's be real, folks. We learned to start planning our dialogues, right? The first time when me and Barry did it, it was like, hey, so what's up?
Go.
You say something, right? So, you know, you talked about mental health during COVID, right? Yeah. And I love it because I feel like something that's significant to mental health, the story you just told, is like, imagine if we hadn't evolved and you have to live this kind of secret life that's not accepted, and then COVID, something that this is significant, right? I've been alive 45 years, been around the world, and I used to laugh at when I'd see the news, like, man, I ain't wearing no masks. You know what I mean? I'm like, it ain't that serious. And now this is our way of life for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You got that big bolt, like it's not even relevant no more. Yeah. It's like, you know, like I can live free. And now we have COVID, right? So, and you talked about a little bit about the mental health, work and stuff like that. Cause I think a lot of us take for granted, like the blessings we have, right? So like maybe elaborate a little bit. Like for me, my mental health, honestly, Barry will tell you, like I have a PhD in complaining and ungratefulness, believe it or not. And it's not like I'm truly ungrateful, but I have to reflect and be like, man, like someone out there has it way, 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 way worse, and you're over here complaining, right? And so I had realized how much I didn't focus on my family. I mean, that's my lesson from COVID and mental health, right? But then within a week of them driving me nuts, locked into the same living room, it was like, all right, I'm ready to go back to work. You know, what do you think got you through during the pandemic?
Yeah. Well, I want to start off by giving credit to Leadership Las Vegas for giving me a vocabulary about mental health. You know, when we went through Healthcare Day and it was a talking point, it gave me a vocabulary to better understand it and talk about it. And I think it's really, really important to talk about mental health. And I feel like it's still not talked about enough today. So what helped me get through it is, you know, we started to shelter in place.
Right.
And I started to work from home remotely, and I was great the first 5 weeks of that because I was like looking at, you know, the brighter side of things. I was like, oh my goodness, I've never had this much quality time with my son since his birth, you know, and looking at the glass half full or whatnot. But then something started to change in me. My morale started to change, and I just started to slowly become aware that like I was losing my motivation with anything. It started with losing the motivation to work out because I was working out religiously because I think that's also a very important you know, aspect to mental health. And then next thing I knew, I didn't even have the motivation to get out of bed anymore. And I wouldn't describe it as depression, but the behaviors that are associated with depression, I was experiencing.
Right.
So I was aware of what was going on, and I chose to vocalize what was going on. I told my husband, hey, you know, just heads up, like, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling. This is how I'm feeling when I get up, when I, you know, I wake up and don't even have the urge to get out of bed and lollygag for a while. And started to let my friends know because I started to also withdraw.
Right.
Socially.
You disappeared a little bit.
I did. I withdrew socially from friends and family. I didn't want to engage with anyone. And it was weird. I didn't know why. I just wasn't my normal self. I wasn't my normal peppy, optimistic, happy-go-lucky, joyful self.
Right.
But everything had been ripped from me, you know, and my norm. And then before you knew it, I was like, okay, I need some social distancing from my family. I mean, because when you're trapped in a house with a 3-year-old constantly, it's you got sick. So
yeah, mine is the dad. My dad. I love my dad. Me and my dad are the best friends, but yeah. Barry lived with me for a little bit, so he knows. It's
I know.
It's more father-son loving, bickering at each other on purpose.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's funny. It's more comedy.
Funny. It's comedy.
But I think it's important to recognize that when you're going through maybe a darker period, to reach out to your family and loved ones and friends, people who you truly trust and value, and let them know that you're going through that. Because I've had episodes of like, you know, dark periods, you know, in my younger years, and I wouldn't talk about it because it wasn't something that we talked about. Instead, you suffer quietly and alone, and that's not good, and that can take you down a very dark spiral. So just by being aware of it and feeling comfortable talking about it, and how did I pull myself out of it? Once we started to finally open up and I had the opportunity to finally go into work every other day. You know, we still wanted to maintain social distance, but we had this formula of where I'd go into the office one day and the next day I'd work remotely. But just being able to get out and get back to some norm, and being able to see friends again in very small groups started to help me. And I'll never forget, I went to San Diego with my husband and a very good friend of ours, and we had this really, really fun 3-day adult weekend. And there's this picture of me on the balcony after several adult beverages, of course, but the smile and the joy in my face, I was like, oh my God,
there he is.
I recognize myself again, because leading up to that, I didn't recognize myself anymore. And I'm so thankful that to this day, I've finally pulled myself out of that dark rabbit hole, and I feel 100% authentically Ace Daniels.
Yeah, I think because, you know, I have PTSD from being in the Air Force. Barry does too. And we call it suffering in silence in the Air Force Wounded Warrior program. And I think what happens is every day when we were working, those distractions are the noise we need, right, to fill the gaps. And then when we get, we shelter in place and we're stuck and nothing to keep us busy, that silence takes us that downward spiral till you're like, how the hell did I get here? You know, and like whether you're just taking a shower and all of a sudden you just got tears pouring out of your eyes because, you know, it's not shampoo. Well, it's shampoo in my eyes, but you have time to think.
Yeah.
And when you think, you're like, WTF, you know? And so I think that's beautiful. You should have reached out. You shouldn't have disappeared. And one of your last little Facebook things, I didn't even know you were dressed until you moved. You're doing like some kind of shoulder press up the wall or something like that. I was like, is Ace naked? Just the way it looked, man.
I wasn't, just to clarify. I was I've gotten into yoga. I always wanted to do yoga, but I never made space for it. And then come January, when I was like 2020, oh my God, I'm gonna get back to my fittest self. Started incorporating yoga into my daily like fitness practice, and yeah, that was what I posted that you saw.
Man, that's what's up, man. So, we're running close to the 30-minute mark.
Oh, already? Wow.
I think so, right, Ryan? Yeah, we're right there. Man, Ryan is awesome, right? So let's do a shout out to Ryan and his family, right? Because they had a loss, man, and Ryan always takes care of us. Very, very giving dude, man. So Kicking It KJ, we got a lot of love for you, prayers for your family, right? And I know how to find Ryan, and I find him more than he finds me because he's so busy, and I'm usually like, hey, dude, I need help. And that's a hard place to come from. Go back to mental health, right?
Yeah.
How many of us like to ask for help?
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, first impressions. Here's Shrek, right? and you're like, imagine me reaching up like, hey man, I'm suffering, you know, I'm dealing with these things and I'm having these thoughts, you know, and we get to that place for a reason. I think one, because people don't really genuinely believe us, you know, or they just pacify you enough to be like, oh no, you'll be okay.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, you'll be all right, you know, and I don't know. I don't know where the road is leading. It's really weird. For the first time in my life, I'm either really paying attention or I've been ignorant to what's really going on, right? Whether it's politically, socially, or anything like that. But it was within the last 3 months, I've actually like experienced a little concern for like what the road looks like for our kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and like I said, I got 6 of them, right? And I used to always just focus on like my little girl, like, hey, you know, I'll stay as strong as I can till I know she has a dude that I can beat down once and let him know that if you mess with my daughter, it's me and 5 boys, right?
6.
And no, 5 boys and a girl.
And me.
Oh, I'm sorry. And Uncle Barry is, yeah, he's always the.
Don't forget me.
Aren't you older than me?
Yeah, I'm
50. But you'll still be strong enough.
Maybe.
Yeah. Tats and gats. That's what we call each other. Tats and gats when we get older because we can't fight. But Ace, man, you are freaking awesome, right? If anything, invite him to a Halloween party. This dude can pull off Disney characters like no other, right?
Oh, I've got more up my wheelhouse. It's not just Disney.
I'm telling you, brother, you got to hang out with this guy. He's so awesome. Ace, if people wanted to find you,
yeah,
right? If you wanted to be found, right? Where can they find you, and what would you say? What would you say to the masses from Ace? You know what I mean? I call you Ace Ventura, by the way.
Okay.
With the was it Major Payne, Ace Ventura? Remember, you got to watch Major Payne again. There's someone he can reference as Ace Ventura, but I call you Ace Ventura. What would you say to the folks from your heart?
From my heart, my message, and specifically to a younger audience, has always been own your authenticity. Own your authenticity. You know, be yourself. You know, I preach that to a lot of youth who are trying to figure out who they are, you know, trying to be like their peers. No, just be who you are. Yep. You know, and that's how I try to live my life. Where can they find me? On Instagram at Ace_Daniels. And that's with an S at the end.
I like it. What do you got? What do you got, Coach?
You gonna wrap it up?
Yeah, I guess. Do you got anything for Team Las Vegas, Team Air Force, Team
Life in general, Team World?
I definitely want to shout out Vicky's, right?
Vicky's Diner, Las Vegas,
which, you know, some scumbag new landlord pretty much kicked him out, so they're rebuilding. But my new boss told me about it, and it's fantastic. So I did decide to do my what's it called? What do you call it?
Non-sponsored sponsor.
Yeah, because they don't pay us.
No.
But yeah, I bought their shirt. Awesome place. So I think they're reopening. So make sure folks check them out. Right. Okay, now wrap it up.
Wrap it up. All right, guys. Here from the Living Large Las Vegas studios in the world. Peace.
Oh, and Third Eye Vinyl. Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.